Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, why do prison inmates in the United States convert to Islam?
I'm Malika Bilal. We discuss the documentary film The Honest Struggle, which tells the story of an ex-offender's mission to help Muslim converts as they leave jail. Leave your comments and questions for us in the YouTube chat or on Twitter.
Re-entry sometimes is a misnomer because it implies a second chance. And the reality for a lot of our brothers is that they never really had a first chance.
I began to think that the best place for me to be was back in one of them cells because it's the only thing it is that I knew. You have no idea what it's like, man. And every step for me has been very challenging.
Darrell Davis was just 18 when he was first sent to prison, serving a total of 25 years behind bars. Davis converted to Islam while in jail, taking on the name Sadiq, or Truthful, as part of an attempt to leave his previous lifestyle behind. But living his truth and rebuilding a life outside the prison walls presented its own difficulties.
In The Honest Struggle, Davis shares his story of returning to the Chicago streets that once led him to prison. And his story, one of faith and overcoming hardship, is not unique. Hundreds of thousands of inmates in the United States have found a sense of community and solace in Islam, with some studies estimating that Muslims comprise about 10 to 15% of all American prisoners. So what are some of the challenges that former and current inmates encounter as they navigate their faith? We're pleased to welcome Sadiq Davis to the stream to help us explore that question. Also with us, Justin Mashouf is a Los Angeles-based filmmaker and the director of The Honest Struggle. And in the U.S. state of Connecticut, Imam Zaid Shakir is an Islamic scholar and senior faculty member at Zaytuna College in Berkeley, California. Welcome to the stream, everyone.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Sadiq.
Hello.
Hello, Sadiq. There was a moment when you decided you were going to convert to Islam. Tell us about that moment. How did you get there?
Well, I began to realize that no matter what it is that I was doing, it just wasn't working out for me. You know, no matter how it is that I tried to do it, it just wasn't working out for me. So I thought maybe if I do a little bit more studying and get off into Islam, maybe I would begin to find some answers to why I was being subjected to things that it is I was being subjected to. So I just pushed it and talked with some more brothers inside prison, and they began to help me understand the Quran and the alphabet and things of that nature. So, you know, it set me free. You know, it gave me a sense of peace that I'd never experienced before in my life.
So there was something about the Quran that attracted you, that drew you in, or was it the brothers in prison that drew you in?
Well, it was Islam that freed me. The brothers helped give me some direction. You know, the brothers told me why it was so important to maintain, why it was so important to keep studying, why it was so important to look at how it is that I used to live and recognize the fact that it was inhumane. And that's the reason why I was going through so many internal changes, because I didn't recognize my own condition. You know, the Quran teaches you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala don't begin to change the conditions of a people until they change what is within themselves. So having read that, I realized that I had to let some things go in order to find out the truth about who it is that I was and how I was supposed to be living as a human being.
So we got this tweet from Mahnur Akhlaq here, and she kind of picks up on what you're saying there about why she sees people converting to this religion in prisons. Mahnur says Islam is a religion which will forgive when perhaps the rest of the world aren't willing to. It offers you peace and answers for everything going on, which makes it easier to be patient during hard times and have hope for the future. So with that in mind, Justin, the idea for this documentary in the first place, I know it came to you in the form of an email or a letter from a chaplain way back in 2008?
Yeah, so in 2008, I had received an email from a Christian chaplain who was actually in charge of the Muslim inmates, and he was looking for Muslims on the outside to be, you know, pen pals. And it was just such a stretch that he found my email on the internet. And I, as a documentary filmmaker, said immediately, you know, started researching the subject. I just took on so many other brothers that were locked up through his network, through some of my own network. And I was in touch with, you know, about a half dozen. And then finally in 2010, I discovered Iman's program And I just said it was second to none, and it was such a unique thing that I just really wanted to tell that story.
So Justin, just for the people who are tuned in today for the first time, we have covered the program you're talking about with the Inner City Muslim Action Network. It's called the Green Reentry Program, but in a line there, can you describe what that program is?
Yeah, sure. So the Green Reentry Program essentially identifies positive role models within the prison that are prisoners that are coming out, to give them a safe space to live, and then also, in addition, give them green rehabilitation skills and construction. So they are rehabilitating dilapidated homes in the south side of Chicago that have been foreclosed on, and they do solar paneling, they do recycled flooring and materials, and kind of giving the idea is to give kind of cutting edge job skills, so that way people can kind of get on their feet and become self-sufficient.
Imam Zaid, I want to show our audience something that is really relevant to what you do. It's from the Pew Research Center. It's quite an old piece of research. Religion in Prisons, a 50-state survey of prison chaplains. And then here, which groups are growing and shrinking? Top of the list, Muslims growing or staying the same in prison. Why do you think that is? What do you think it is about Islam that actually attracts people in prison to think that there's something there that might help their journey?
Right. I think there are a number of issues. First of all, for a lot of people, this isn't universal. For a lot of people, Islam is a protest religion. It's a protest against oppression. It's a protest against conditions that are sometimes cruel and unforgiving. And for many people, the reigning religious reality is part of what's being protested. And so Islam becomes sort of an alternative. For everyone, I think that's for many people. I think it's universal that Islam gives a person dignity by empowering that person, empowering the person through literacy. I know many Muslims who were incarcerated. The first book that they read cover to cover in their life was the Quran. And so that's very empowering. So there are a lot of there are many reasons. Also, Islam, because it demands that you study. It's a religion that's based on knowledge. It's a knowledge-based tradition and religion, and that requisite of study, in many instances, slows a lot of brothers down for the first time. As those who've seen the documentary can remember Sadiq talking about, just in the street, you're moving, you're hustling, and at breakneck speed sometimes. And once you are incarcerated and you have a Quran, that slows you down. And once you slow down, you can begin to get in touch with your true self. And so there are many other reasons we can mention, but I'll turn the mic over to my colleagues. Brother Sadiq, he might follow up on that.
Sadiq, there are some beautiful moments in the film where there are moments where we're laughing with you and there are moments where we're crying with you. One of the moments that I laughed out loud was a sense of self-realization. You said it took you 40 years to realize that you were as dumb as a box of rocks. So then you converted and then you became smart. So while you were in prison as a convert, how did it help you?
That's exactly what I was saying, to just interject.
Yeah. So Sadiq put it as dumb as a box of rocks, then he became a convert. And then, how did that help you actually get through the rest of your prison sentence?
Well, it brought me a sense of peace. I realized that I wasn't smart as I thought I was. Like I said, it took me 40 years to realize I was dumb as a box of rocks. So when I admitted that, everything else began to unfold to me by way of the deen. Everything became very clear. So I learned that I couldn't get that knowledge before because I wasn't willing to take my hands and put them behind my back. I wouldn't realize and recognize the fact that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. But then I kept looking at the fact that I couldn't have been too smart because I kept getting in all that trouble, spending all that time in them cells. So it dawned on me, something is not right here. So I began to slowly but surely let that part of my life go. And it was replaced with something much more fantastic, much more rewarding, much more peaceful. And it's then that I realized and accepted the fact that, okay, now I'm beginning to understand. I'm beginning to see that how it is that I've been living was contrary to what it is that I was created to do. And I took a shahada to rectify that. You know, I wanted to straighten that out and show other gang members and inmates what that looked like when you practice it in all true form. So it set me free.
And the Shahada, of course, being
It's
the declaration,
that it was
of faith. Go ahead, Imam Zaid.
At the age of 40, the revelation came through the Prophet Muhammad. Oh. So it's a very good year.
Keeping that in mind, Nikki here on Twitter says that the conversion often is because of a sense of community, feelings of belonging, and it's important to then one's well-being, and that is while in prison. But then what happens when you get out? And oftentimes that is, for many people, a struggle in itself, which takes us to this tweet we just got from TJ, who says, I would like to know how the director, how you, Justin, came out with the idea, The Honest Struggle, as the title of this documentary. What is behind that honest struggle?
First of all, full credit to being creative about that title was my wife. I had multiple titles of the film as I was working on it, and my wife came up with it. Sadiq's name essentially, comes from the idea of truthfulness and honesty, and the film is completely about his struggle. So it just like popped in so so well, and it worked perfectly to be The Honest Struggle being Sadiq's struggle.
Sadiq, there's a moment where we weren't on you, but I could hear you, and we were wondering what happens when you get out. You have this community of brothers in prison, and then you have to look for your community now that you're a convert outside. There was a moment where you met up with an old friend called Rochelle, an old childhood friend, and you were chit-chatting and telling her about your conversion. And I just want to share with our audience a little scene from that moment. Have a look.
Coming back over here in the neighborhood where I've caught murders at on the block, where we did shootings in the playground. Coming back on the block and being reminded of where it is I come from is my way of trying to share with the block that I contributed to the problem. My name is Sadiq. Sadiq means truthful. So one thing it is I'm not gonna do is dishonor my own name like I've done my life. I buried Darrell. I buried Danny Boy. I honor who it is that I am when I hear the word Sadiq.
I think it's good that you become the person that you are now.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. It took a lot.
Yeah.
You turned out good. It just took so long.
It did. It did.
Sadiq, that is deep, dark shade Rochelle is throwing on you, old friend.
Yeah.
But the reality of finding a new community that you've never experienced, tell us about that.
Well, to embrace Islam in prison gave me a sense of belonging. It gave me the true identity of what brotherhood was all about. Remember, that's the reason why I joined the gang in the late 60s and 70s, because I was in search of brotherhood. But having discovered Islam, I also recognized the fact that that was the otherhood. That wasn't the brotherhood. So, it gave me something that I've never experienced before. It gave me a sense of family. It gave me a sense of commitment. And coming out to the street and not feeling the same thing in certain areas was devastating to me. We had a very strong sense of community in prison, and to come out to the street and not experience that was very devastating to me. And I think that was one of the hardest things it is that I've ever encountered before in my life, because I've had so much great expectation and so much belief in my Islamic community, in the brotherhood. So I had to talk with Justin about that on more than one occasion, about how it was so different out in the street. And I thought it would be a whole lot better on the street than it was in prison. However, along with Justin and a few other brothers that I talked to, I was able to maintain. But it was very difficult. But I wouldn't trade this position for all the tea in China, because now I recognize that it is truly part of what I call an honest struggle.
Yeah. I think what's mentioned is very important, and that's why the Green Reentry Program and similar programs is so important. In addition to the job training, there's the support, peer support which sometimes the prison life, as everyone knows, is very structured. And Islam is a very structured religion. 5 prayers, Jummah, Friday congregation, Quran reading, Quran study, group conversation, fasting Ramadan together. So you put the structure of Islam and you combine that with the structure of incarceration, that's a whole lot of structure. And everyone's together, almost 24/7. You come out into the street, and this is from my experience working inside of the prisons and also in an inner city community, imam in an inner city community where we had people reintegrating back into the community. That structure in many instances is completely gone. You might find it at the morning prayer, the Fajr prayer, where a decent number might come together. Then everyone's going to work. This one's going to work. This one's going to take the kids to school. This one's going to do this, that, and the other. And you might not get together until Jummah, the Friday prayer. And so having programs where there's a sense of continuity in terms of that structure, in terms of a support group, in terms of job training to assist the process of fully reintegrating back into society is absolutely important. And I'm so happy for Sadiq that he was able to find that opportunity in the context of the Green Reentry Program.
Mm-hmm. So, Imam, what you're saying there, I want to chime in here because people watching this are weighing in. This is Mahnur, and she says what returning citizens often need is a little bit of extra help when leaving prison to keep themselves out of trouble. She says businesses should perhaps accept a quota of former prisoners when employing and give them a chance. Without that routine and distraction, it's easier to fall back into old ways. So, someone else who's weighing in on that idea of what happens when people come home, return to society, is someone who works at IMAN, the company, the organization that you've heard our guests talk about, Inner City Muslim Action Network, and they're the ones that have the Green Reentry Program that Sadiq, you were a part of, one of the founding members of that. This is Tanaisha Coleman, and she talks to us about what some of these returning citizens often face.
I believe the main difficulties of being a returning citizen is the stigma that comes with the title of being a returning citizen. People tend to judge you on your past as opposed to trying to help you really cultivate and figure out what your future is going to look like. You walk around with this dark cloud, and it comes with not forgiving yourself for whatever mistake you may or may not have made. But I think it's really important as a returning citizen to really see your future self, to forgive yourself for your past, and to look at how you can be a better person in the future.
So Justin, as the filmmaker behind this, were you surprised at that difficulty, or is that the reason you decided to tackle this?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of the reasons I decided to tackle it. If you look at the statistics on reentry, it's just absolutely, disappointing and depressing, frankly. And I see, organizations like Iman, their contribution is so crucial. They, kind of are following up on the legacy of people like Malcolm X, who, when coming out of prison, said, you know what, the first thing I want to do is try to help pull my brothers out of this situation. So I think, that was definitely a big motivator for me, and to, inspire people to take this as a serious priority. And there's a lot that we can do in order to help people that are really simple things. One of the first people that I spoke to when I was making this film was a brother named Elijah, and he was from Iowa. And when I went out and visited him, just the community had just kind of thrown him to the side, and he just said, everybody's going to salam me at the mosque, but I just want somebody to play Xbox with. So it was really kind of difficult to see that, and that type of stigmatization that happens to people that are coming home is disappointing, and I feel like Muslim communities can do a lot to improve that.
Sadiq, I'm just looking at some photographs here from the screenings from The Honest Struggle. I'm looking at screenings in Indiana prisons. I'm just going to scroll through some of the publicity that you and Justin have been doing. This is your beautiful wife. You'll have to watch the film to find out her plot line. Very interesting there. You look so comfortable being a representative of what it means to convert to Islam, coming out of prison, and then going on that journey. What are you able to share with people? What is your message for people at the end of this film? It's more than just your story.
Well, to begin with, if I could go in every prison in Illinois, I would tell them to try to get in touch with Iman. You know, because Iman was responsible for me having a place to come to. It was responsible for me being in a Muslim setting to continue to practice the Deen of Al-Islam. And I didn't really begin to struggle until I left Iman. If I had any kind of control over the situation, I'd have ran back. But I couldn't do that because I knew that space was also available for other brothers coming out. So the message it is that I would like to give to people concerning Islam is this. At some point, you got to recognize the fact that you're in manifest error. You got to recognize the fact that you need to be doing something different. I tell brothers all the time, don't wait till the judge tell you got 40 years or 50 years before you realize that Islam is available to you. Don't wait until your life is over when you're going to have no control of it. You got to answer for everything it is you've done before you realize that Islam has been given to you to help you straighten your life out. So more than anything, I want to continue to assure brothers in prison that when you come out, as long as you maintain the deen, as long as you continue to make your salats, as long as you continue to honor Ramadan and do everything that is necessary for you to do, as a Muslim, no matter what it is that you go through, you're going to be all right. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I never put on you much more than what it is that you can bear.
Which is why on YouTube right now, someone is watching what you're saying and writing in, if this works for inmates or former inmates, then why ostracize them? A spiritual awakening is tantamount to rehabilitation. Of course, you can see that on the live YouTube feed of this show. But I actually want to play a video comment we just got on Instagram from someone who talks to us about what he can do. He's asking a question. Have a listen to Hakeem in this comment.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hakeem Muhammad. I'm from the South Side Chicago, and I was really inspired by the film, The Honest Struggle. And my question is, how can we better reach our brothers in the streets with the message of Islam, the brothers who have been so oppressed?
Imam Zaid, I'll give that one to you.
Yeah. Well, what we used to do in New Haven, Connecticut, amongst other things, is we had a van. We called it the Dawah Mobile, and we put some speakers on the roof of the van, and we put a PA system that was powered by the cigarette lighters, and we would go through the streets and pull up wherever there was a crew of brothers, and we get out and we just talk to the brothers and embrace them and encourage them. And many times there would be people who weren't Muslims. Sometimes there were people who were Muslims who would start coming to the masjid. I think we have to open the doors of the masjid. I think a very important thing in terms of what we can do is we have to be living representatives of that truth regardless of the external situation, regardless whether we're ostracized or embraced, whether we're marginalized or celebrated, no matter what the external condition. And Sadiq said something that spoke to this. We have to rise above and be an example, and that example and that inspiration will help others who might be dealing with the difficulties to pull through.
Imam
I know some beautiful brothers that are like saints who came through that prison system, and nothing
Thank you so much, Imam
that they encountered on the outside was going to stop them. Okay.
Imam Zaid, no apologies needed. Speaking truth right here on the stream. Imam Zaid, Sadiq, Justin, thank you very much for being on the stream. We cannot talk about this film without telling you where to see it, and you can see it wherever you are in the world. Justin is in full promo mode right here, so you can see it on iTunes. And also, if you go to the website of The Honest Struggle, you will see it on Amazon Instant Video and also on iTunes, and also a pivot share around the world and coming soon to Google Play. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's such a pleasure having you on the stream today. Now, this show is not just thrown together. We put it together with an incredible crew. One of our incredible crew, one of our family, is Maddie Finkel, who is leaving today. So, Malika, how do we see her? Let's cut to the control room.
I would like that.
All right, so let's cut to the control room so we can give Maddie a big thank you and a
miss you,
round of
Maddie.
applause. Even our guests are applauding too. Maddie Finkel, we will miss you. We love you very much. Thank you for helping us make the stream. See you next time. without Maddie.